Hello again. I'm going to show you around the Moodle page just so you know how to get some files and just kind of have a very short video. I'll try to keep this one to be 5 minutes so you can just be pointed to some resources in order to implement your aggregations, compositions, partial aggregate, partial compositions, and your inheritance. Okay, so a lot of people have been very worried about that. How are they going to actually get it done? They have a class diagram that they're quite happy with, something like this. And they have, within that though, there's something like an inheritance. And there's a multiplicity, and they're quite worried about how they can implement that, okay? So if you look on Moodle, you can go to the very end of Moodle. Just go to the very end of Moodle. I'll move these around later. I just put them on the end just to sort of, so I can find them, I suppose. And there's a little section there called basic class diagram. Just 3 classes. This is the bare minimum anybody should do. Maybe like if you're a group of 1 or a group of 2, perhaps, you know, you would have like a sale, and a sale contains a seller. And it contains, for example, a car. So, you know, if you're selling cars, you want to have keep track of all the sales, and you might have a customer in there as well. But for the moment, this is just like product. Now, you could change this where you've got car inherits from vehicle, and seller inherits from user. I haven't done that just in this particular diagram because I want to program everything first so you understand it as compositions. Okay, and I mean, at the very least, you should all have something like this by now. Okay, and you'd have an equivalent EOD diagram with the same 3 relationships. That might look something like this. Car has multiple sales. You sell that car. You've got a lot of instances of that car that you sell over and over again. And there's lots of sellers who make lots of sales. Okay, primary key function. No surprises. Most people have that. Okay, what you may not know, what you may not have is the code and how to get the code to actually implement all that. So I've made a little example. I've made a lot of examples here actually. It's here. It's kind of like a, I suppose you can download all of them. You probably won't understand much of all of that until we do that in a lecture, but what you should understand easily is here's the car class. So here I've made the car class for that particular class diagram, and then we can just make some new cars. This is what we mean by implementing your CRUD via objects, okay? So there's a couple of others there as well, and that I want to show you. And I'm just going to put some links to them, really. That's really what they are. So we talked about this earlier in the lecture, and to just give you some examples of code. And I mean, you know, if you wanted to do a car and a sale, it's no different than this example we looked at in the lecture, which is like author. So you might have, for example, an author class, and a book contains authors, or a review of a book. A review contains a book, which contains an author. So like you can see that the author would be a very clean class in that scenario. I do have that somewhere here in code, but I don't seem to be able to find it while I'm videoing this. It's a test case design, should be somewhere there. But for the moment, let's just you know, just continue working through some. There it is. There's a sample aggregation there. Okay, so sample aggregation code. There's the code. I just typed it out. So you might have a book, contains a title, an author. Now normally you'd put just a string for the author, but if you were to make an actual object for author, that would be a better way. That would be a much better idea to make author as an object, okay, rather than the way I've done it here. So, you know, you can make a few books, whatever. That's actually done in Java, so let's look at that in PHP. Here it would be in PHP, and it's not much different. Just name, dollar email. It's just an author, okay? That's a very clean class. Notice that everything is private. I saw a few people making these public today, which isn't a good idea. What's the point in doing object-oriented, secure programming if you're going to make public variables? Make them private and go to the trouble of doing getters and setters. This can be a completely different file to, for example, your book file. So here would be the book file, like this one, and you can put authors as an array of book, for example. So I got this link here from Brainbell. Nice little example. It's a lot simpler, I think, than if you go to some of the other ones. Like Stack Overflow had kind of a long-winded set of explanations there, which I wasn't crazy about. Okay. The other one then that you might want to do is how to implement an inheritance. So that would be fairly straightforward as well. It's not a difficult thing to do, but you know, all of you need to have one because you do need at least one inheritance in your project. So, you know, you've got user, You can do user, employee, admin. I think you should do more than that because that's a real web dev server need where you've got user and employee or something like that. I think you should do one of your products. Your products should obviously be you should be scalable. Your product should be scalable. So you might have product, and that's the parent class of, for example, car. Like you might have vehicle, car, motorcycle. You might have sort of a mobile device, phone, tablet, something like that. You could have anything there. You could do that in terms of grocery items, or clothing item. Every clothing item will have a price and a size, and then you might have like footwear and hoodies, etc. Okay, so I just don't want to get too stuck into examples right now, but you must do that. If you look at the brief explicitly says that you must have at least one inheritance there. Okay, so like if you go to that brief, it does say, like, read the briefs. Do not read the briefs. Okay, one generalization is guaranteed. I'd suggest you do at least two, just like I did in the lecture, to be sure that the best one is considered. Okay, so let's just look at that other file that I said. This is an example. There's a vehicle, for example, there. You can use vehicle, car extends vehicle, and you've got notice that there's some private variables in car. I think a much easier one, that's Java. I think a much easier one would be the PHP example. Why am I showing you Java? I want you to do this in PHP. Okay, so the book is PHP, and you just go down to this section here, object-oriented PHP. Now, PHP generally is not the first choice for object-oriented programming. It's the first choice for web dev server type things. But remember, we are not here to just do web dev server items. We're here to do a software engineering methodology. The only methodology is object-oriented case tools. So that's why we're going to do this using an inheritance. And it's a great example here with a fruit. So if you make that fruit as one PHP file and call it something like user, and then you can make strawberry as another PHP file and call it something like employee. Same thing as vehicle and class. Go implement these. Just cut and paste those out. You can try it yourself. This gives you the example, copies it for you, and then just modify them so that they are to suit your needs. There's no reason why you should not be able to do that. So that's just an introduction here. I'm gonna check out here. It's 9 o'clock on a Friday evening, so I'm going to upload some other videos of me implementing these files. I tried doing one earlier with a book, but just didn't have time to finish it. I'll go ahead and finish that, and I will basically do, I guess, a kind of a very small project for you where I implement a type of generalization, an inheritance, and a type of aggregation, a composition, okay, a partial composition like this. Order contains order detail. Okay, so with just those examples there, that's really what I was working on. I was trying to veer towards these examples at the very end, and do a basic EOD diagram, sale, seller, car, implement that as a class diagram, car, sale, seller. I'll just go ahead and implement that in the next one and give it to you. So I started doing them here. You can download the code, they're in there, but I haven't made a video about them yet. So there's the database configuration, car, seller is in there. I just didn't make a video. I'll go and make a video of those files next. Okay, so I think that's everything you should know. I hope that made some sense and was useful to some degree for you. Let me know if these videos are of any use, maybe in the labs, because they take a lot of time to make. Anyway, you don't need to know that. So basically, that is assignment 3. I think you have enough for it. And I'll continue making videos for me doing the implementation that I just talked about. Okay, this is an impromptu video. This one didn't really take a long time to make. This is kind of briefing video, so I suppose whatever helps. Anyway, I'm keeping it short, trying to keep them under 10, 15 minutes. There you go. Bye.